This is the Unexpected Podcast. Well, hello, everyone. We're here with another episode. Hi, Lee.
Hey, Amy.
And we've got a very special guest. It's Patsy Alston. Welcome, Patsy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are glad. Patsy is a friend of a number of years at this point, and along with her husband, Raymond, and we love all the Alston family. And so we're just excited to be able to sit down and interview her. And she's let's see, she didn't give me a particular bio, so I'm going to wing it. Ooh. And first of all, let you know, she's a Texan by birth.
I am.
All right, very
Absolutely.
exciting. And born and bred. She, I would say, is a visionary, an innovator, a woman of many talents and lots of energy. So, and lots of fun, because that's important. You know, we
as
like
a matter
to have
of fact,
fun.
the last time we were on camera together, I was in a completely different kind of outfit.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And we might get into that in a minute. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do all like to play dress up sometimes. But Patsy, we're just happy that we finally got you in here to sit down. And so just to start off, tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in Texas. And then obviously you come from a Christian background, and that's a big part of your story. So just tell us a little bit about those days and the early days.
So I grew up in the piney woods of East Texas. It's called the Big Thicket, and it's called the Big Thicket for a reason, because literally you can't walk through the woods. There is a big disparity right now on whether or not there are bears, wolves, and or mountain lions. People see them, and then the wildlife people say no, they're not there. So until they're killed, and then they're like, oh, look, there's one. Because it's the Big Thicket, and so people can get lost in there fairly easily.
Sounds scary.
But I grew up with a dual leadership type household. My mom, who was very much a gentle lady, a Christian, she was very much an influence in my life, and still is to this day. And then there was my dad, who grew up rough and kind of brought that roughness into his fatherly type situation. And so we grew up with the authoritative household and the influence household in the same home. And so I started this as a young person, recognizing that there are certain types of leadership that really help. And then there's certain types of leadership that don't get you very far at all.
A little detrimental to life.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's really amazing that you were observing that at a young age. Do you think you were conscious of it, or was it just kind of something that you stewed over through the years and
it was
and
more
analyzed?
At first it was more of an internal thing until I got to probably about junior high. And whenever I got to about junior high, I started recognizing the leadership patterns or the management patterns in other people, and like teachers and coaches, and the effect that they not only had on me personally, but also on the people around me. And I started really, and in my high school years, I started really like talking to myself about what kind of person I wanted to be.
A little self-reflection.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
So interesting. And then, I know your husband Raymond has said that if you ever had to, you would be able to survive, some kind of, apocalyptic meltdown.
Country girls can survive, I'm going to tell you.
Country girl, but you would prefer not to have to do that, but you have all those skills, which is pretty
my
cool.
sister and I we don't like going camping. We hate going camping because one entire summer from May to September, we built our house.
Ooh.
And because Dad didn't want to pay rent and build the house, he got the roof over and the tar paper around it with one single light bulb, a two-sided hot plate, and we moved in. Yeah.
And about how old were you at this time?
I was, I think I was 11 years old, 10 or 11 years
Mm.
old.
Okay.
And Dad did not really like heights. So I was his ridge runner. So I helped him put
Mm.
the roof on and helped him put all of the foundations down. I was his boy because I was the oldest girl and he had no boys. So
Mhm.
You
was
were
it.
it.
I was it.
Yeah.
I went hunting with him. We went bathing in the swimming hole down the road, and we had an outhouse. So we really had roughing it upbringing. When they talk about Gen Xers, I'm sure that you guys might have some of the same experiences, but there's not really very many Gen
I
Xers.
barely missed the outhouse. Barely. They like the year I was born, they put a toilet in, I think. So,
that went past just drinking out of the water hose. I think I
yeah.
went a little over the
Yeah.
top there with that experience.
but water hose water has a good taste in the summer.
It does.
It's like it's weird,
refreshing. Yeah.
refreshing.
As long as you don't get that first,
The first bit, you gotta let it run.
you gotta let it run for a minute.
Because it's been sitting out in the sun, and the first bit is like scalding hot and will
Yeah.
burn your face.
And not only that, but in the country when you're growing up, we had a well, and
Mhm.
our well was tapped into an underground spring. So that honestly is the bar in which all water to me is because
Sure.
Spring water, well water is good.
it was amazing and
Yeah.
cool and fresh and
Nutrients.
yeah,
A lot
all
more
the
nutrients.
beautiful minerals and nutrients.
That'd
And
be great. It'd be great to have a well. Let's
Yeah.
dig one next week.
Hey,
Okay.
we can do it. I mean, we in the city, but man, give me
Oh.
a shovel and not right now,
No,
Yeah.
but you know,
East Tennessee, I'm sure we have a lot of really nice underground springs.
Oh,
we
yeah.
got. There's one that runs from Cleveland all the way up to the Lost Sea.
Oh yeah, the Lost Sea.
Yeah, and there's
that's on my bucket list. I haven't been down there
it's
yet.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
You were
cool.
talking about leadership and this dual dynamic
Mhm.
of leadership, and there are leaders who are out of necessity leading
Mhm.
and feel as though they have to be totalitarian,
Mhm.
and then you have gentle leaders who are empathetic,
Mhm.
and I think I fall in between the two. It's kind of like a militant empathetic person. If that's
It's
such a thing.
very, very interesting combination.
And sometimes I don't know how to react to certain situations, and I've found over the years that doing the harsh thing gets one response, doing the soft thing does another response, and it all depends on who you're talking to.
Mhm.
I know.
Well,
Yeah.
I've had
Anyway.
the opportunity. You haven't yet to read through Patsy's book on leadership, and we'll get into that. And we can get
Okay.
into it now if you want to tell our
Sure.
audience a little bit about that.
So the book is called The Keys to People First Leadership. And like I said, I've been looking at leadership since I was young, very, very young.
Mhm.
And very specifically since I was probably about 16 years old and I became a youth pastor
Mhm.
over some junior high kids. And what's hilarious is a lot of the times we don't really know what we are qualified to do until we're following God and we're right smack dab
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of it. And I was talking to a group of ladies, and we were helping each other build our dreams.
Mhm.
And I was saying, God, I feel like this is what you want me to do, go into leadership like this, because I really feel like that if we can help people have a good working relationship, then
Mhm.
they can have a easier home relationship. I don't
Mhm.
know if you know this, but there's actually a correlation between people who have hard working relationships and are bullied at work
Mhm.
and their child's bullying at school.
Mm. Yeah.
Either being bullied or
Mhm.
actually being the bully.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And it really does. There's a scientific correlation between those two. And so I started thinking about all of this, and I'm telling God, I'm like, God, I don't have any receipts in this area.
Mhm.
But I'm just going to follow you blindly. And then he said, like, I was just imagining in my mind, and I felt in my spirit, I heard, oh, no receipts, huh? And then it's like, he starts reminding me, like, you were a youth pastor at 16 years old. You were a leadership in choir. You were a leadership in college. You were a part of the SBA. You were part part of the
Mm-hmm.
leadership and band, and that's
Yep.
just until
Yeah.
I was 20.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
You were just thrust into
Yeah.
those positions. And
Yeah.
I mean, I often
Yeah.
say that there's often not a correlation between a true leader and some sort of title. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes the true leaders don't have the title to go with it, but
Yeah.
they are leading.
well, John Maxwell, he says that leadership is influence.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
like you were saying earlier, sometimes people need a firm hand to be
Mm.
influenced, and sometimes it's a gentle hand. It's like riding horses.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sometimes you've got a horse that's a little bit headstrong and they need a firm hand to guide
Yep.
them. And other times you just need to move your leg a little bit and the horse is able to read your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not that I am telling people you're a horse. I'm not. I'm just saying.
Yes, we understand what you were
As she
saying.
nays towards us.
Yes, we say nay.
Nay to that.
Nay to that.
Well, you mentioned some of the leadership positions that you started.
Mhm.
Where did you go from there into your 20s and so forth?
Yeah. So whenever I graduated college, I didn't graduate college. Whenever I finished my college career with no diploma, I walked into and I met my husband. And very soon after we got married, actually before we got married, we became youth leaders.
Mhm.
And then after we got married, we became children's pastors. And that really kind of turned into, not formally, but informally, a family pastoral position. And so we mentored and we helped young men and women as they were going through junior high and into high school. We helped influence parents in their leadership styles.
Mhm.
We just kind of answered questions and coached and helped as much as we possibly could
Mhm.
bring a degree of peace into
Yeah.
these relationships
Yeah.
in their home, because anybody who's watching this or hearing this knows raising kids is not a cakewalk.
Mm.
Really?
I never knew that. It's been so easy for us.
Shocker.
And we've had no problems with our kids.
Even though they are
And
wonderful,
parenting.
but parenting is
I
not
didn't
for the
know
faint
what
of
to
heart.
do.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with all of that, knowing what to do as
Right.
a dad. I
Right.
didn't know how to be a leader. I was
Yeah.
21 years old when
Yeah.
Well, and going back to
20,
what you
you know?
said, there's different styles of leadership that are
Mhm.
needed in different situations, and likewise, different children
Mhm.
need different types of guidance, and it's hard to know.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I have 3 tools that people can build a leadership a style around.
Mhm.
And because not everyone is the same, because
Right.
if everyone was the same, it would all be easy.
cookie cutter.
It would be, but it's not.
Yeah.
So the 3 things that I feel like are keys are see, hear, and believe. You've got to
Mhm.
see your people as people first.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things about it. It's being a people first leadership. Yes, you do need to put your people before all of your metrics. You need to put your people before your bottom line. You need to put your people
Mhm.
before the things that make your business look good. But you have to see them as people first.
Mm.
Yeah.
So many times, corporate or church or nonprofits, they see them
Mhm.
as
Assets.
assets. That's exactly the right word. They see them as assets and not
Mhm.
people.
Right.
And whenever you take the people part out of it, then you're missing a whole key of
Mhm.
humanity
Yep.
that if you tap into it, it's like we were talking about wells a while ago. You
Mm.
don't know how deep the water goes and how good the spring
Yep.
is until you tap into that potential.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and there are people who have made assessments that after a while systems take on a life of their own, and sometimes it's not even with bad intentions. It
Mm-mm.
just happens, and
Yeah.
before you know it, it's like this system you created is like Frankenstein. It takes
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
rather than someone at the helm leading the way.
So I've
Exactly.
found also over the years just different. I've held several leadership roles, from pastoring to, doing the groundwork. I mean,
Cleveland
outside-
Apple Festival.
Whoa, Apple
Yeah.
Festival. Yeah. Taking on these leadership roles of doing stuff, man. They, in certain situations, they create a role and then fill it with a person that may not be qualified. And instead of creating the person and making them qualified. And I think that there's certain amount of learning curve to everything that you do, and a leader is all the time. I've never met a leader who wasn't first a great follower.
Mm-hmm.
And not just of Christ but of others.
Mm-hmm.
They're accommodating, they help, they are they do what it takes to get the job done, and they're able to move forward with no reservation. As long as they believe in it, they can do it. And that's the hardest part about getting people to work for you and with you, is getting them to buy into the vision, and that vision working with their vision. It's very deep. It's good that you did a book, because because leadership, it's very layered.
Very layered.
It goes so deep. I hear you talking about all of the things. We are a culmination of all of our experience throughout all of life.
Yes.
And some people who come out of dire situations, keyword come out, they usually end up being great leaders. But people who hold grudges and are upset, or they're bitter about their life, they usually don't make good leaders.
No, one of the things that I talk about in the book is one of the ways that you can tell the difference between a manager and a leader is a victim mindset versus a victor mindset. Because a manager is someone who puts out fires, who concentrates on the now, who has really no depth of time. And so whenever they're looking at a specific situation, we didn't meet this metric, this customer wasn't satisfied, there's always they're always a victim of someone else's situation, right?
Yep.
And so and usually it falls on an employee, a staff member, a team member. And so I can always tell whenever you start talking about, or you start listening inside the C-suite or inside the manager's office, executive office, when you start hearing conversations, you can always recognize, okay, who's the managers and who's the leaders. Because the leaders look for ways to overcome.
We know certain young people who are fantastic leaders, better leaders than some 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, people who have been the CEO of a company. I've seen young people be better leaders than them, and it's all about the mentality that they have. And then I've just noticed you hit on a almost a little bit of a sore spot for me, because I've been passed over for leadership roles that I know I could have done, but because I didn't have a certain title before, because I didn't have a certain skill set that they were looking for, I was passed over. Am I bitter? No, I'm better. So you have to look and roll with the punches in business. So in business is one thing. In ministry, it's another thing, because it's a different dynamic. You have to think, what's the bottom line on both of them? Bottom line for ministry is souls are in the balance. Bottom line in business is you got to make money, or you're no longer in business. So you have to, the focus is a little bit different, but there is some crossover.
There's a lot of crossover.
There's some crossover there, because if you're not good to your people and you don't care about their souls in business, then they're not going to flourish. And if you are in ministry and all you think about is, okay, we're going for Jesus, and you don't think about the finances,
You're no longer.
There's walking by faith, and then there's trust, and then there's, all right, I gave you a brain, use it.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that I've struggled with in ministry, is like, people try to pay me and I feel guilty.
That's a whole mindset right there. Oh my goodness.
Man.
I've been trying to conquer that one, moving
That's
into
a rough one.
out of ministry into the business aspect, and that's not easy, because we're not taught to value what we bring to the table in ministry.
Workman is worthy of their hire.
Exactly.
And I think we've gotten far away from that in ministry. Nothing against churches. I love every one of them. We are the church. People of the church, love them. Love everybody. The bureaucracy that has taken over the church is ridiculous and has taken a toll on practicality in people surviving
Well,
in
and
life.
I wanted to piggyback on something you said earlier about being overlooked, because I also think that there have been times when it was really God's blessing and protection
That's the other side.
that we were
Absolutely.
overlooked, because we would have
Thank you,
gotten
Lord.
caught up in
Yes.
some machine that we weren't meant to be caught up in. And we've had to humbly accept the fact that sometimes our influence is going to be behind the scenes, or it's not going to appear as though we're having an influence, but that's not what matters. It matters that
Sometimes you
we're
have to be a
following the
secret
Lord.
agent.
Yeah.
Some
that
secret
was coming.
agent man.
We have a little history with that song, don't
A
we?
little bit of a history.
Secret.
But in the church, I think just like the spies were sent out in the Bible to scope out the land, we sometimes have to be that secret agent that's working in the background so that others who have influence can go forward and do the thing. We have to be the apostle. Forgive me if people are offended by that word, but an apostle is someone who just gets behind those who have gifts that God's given them, and you push them and you put them up. It's not to glorify me if that is the role that I'm stepping into. And I'm not saying I'm an apostle. I'm not saying that we're apostles or apostolic or anything. I'm just talking about an apostolic movement and in general. It is the getting behind and pushing people out, much like a good leader should do in business or wherever you're at.
Exactly.
And would I be correct in saying something like that?
I would agree with that 100%. If you look at even if you look at the Old Testament and you look at the Daniels and the Josephs, and the position of power that they had was not actually the highest position of power,
Right.
but it was an influencer of the influencers. And so I really honestly feel like that sometimes God calls us with our different gifts, and we don't understand that he's calling us to be an influencer of influencers, and he's taking us into the marketplace, or he's taking us into the entertainment field, or he's taken us to behind the scenes or in front of the camera. And what we're doing is we're influencing the influencers, and that's a big, huge passion of mine.
Yeah.
So would you say it's important to know when to be content to be behind the scenes, but then also not be afraid to shine when the Lord says, okay, it's your time. I'm putting you in the spotlight. You kind of have to be willing to do both.
I haven't been able to do it in the past 6 months, but I love to be in front of people and playing music, and not just Christian music, but music in general. I just enjoy it. I love it. And it's not because I'm like, look at me, I'm a superstar or a rock star or anything. It's not that I want to be that. It's just that I enjoy watching people listen to me play music. It's just fun to watch the reactions. Sometimes the reactions like, ooh, that was a sour note. But I mean, those reactions are kind of cool because it's like, oh, I need to improve.
Or, hey, they're actually listening.
They're listening. I had a young man. I did yodeling at the Apple Festival the last time I played, which I didn't get to play last year because I've been injured.
Sad.
Yeah. But before that, I played, and after I was finished, I sang a Hank Williams song, Long Gone Lonesome Blues, and I did yodeling. And it was the first time I yodeled in public. And
I loved it.
This kid, he had to be 12 years old. He come up to me. He said, "Where's your album? Do you have an album? Is that your song? Is this?" And I was like, "Okay, no, buddy, but thank you. I appreciate the." I was like, "You can listen to some of my stuff on Spotify and Amazon Music and wherever you listen to music, but I don't have that song recorded because it's recorded by Hank Williams." And he was like, "Oh, I just love the way you did the yodeling. I loved that." And I was like,
and now you have to put out a yodel.
"That's awesome."
Yes. Yeah, that's
You know?
next. That's next. And something I failed to mention about Patsy's background is she sings beautifully.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
comes from a musical family, so that was a big
Absolutely.
part of what you did growing up as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone the other day, Southern Gospel was the harmonies. Family harmonies were our shtick. And I honestly, sometimes if we're only in a group of 3 or 4, I have a hard time singing the same part as someone else, because it was, from the time I was 8, 9 years old, we were singing harmonies. That's what we were doing. And so if you didn't know how to sing harmonies, you learned real quick because you stood beside somebody who was singing the part that you wanted to learn.
I should have grew up with you because I cannot sing harmony to save my life.
It's just ear training, bro.
I just get up and yell. That's pretty much yell as loud as I can.
Yell really, really well.
Thank you. Thank you. I yell and strum a guitar, and hopefully I hit the right chords.
Well, what's hilarious is that I was a music major in college, right?
Yep.
And so I was in band, I was a vocal major, all of the things. And so I know how to technically play the guitar, play the keyboard, play the ukulele, all of those things, but I do not have the skill. I do not have the talent to play musical instruments. My instrument is my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can tell you what to play, and I can tell you when
Sure.
you don't play or you're out of tune.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But my husband, on the other hand, he can play whatever he picks up.
Yes.
He's one of
Yep.
those obnoxious people that
Yep.
you give him 10 minutes and he's,
Dang
playing.
talented people.
Yeah.
He's just playing it just like it's supposed to be played.
Yeah.
Yes, we know.
Yes.
We've heard.
My daughters both have picked that up.
That's
They get the
fantastic.
vocal and the
Yeah,
musical.
yeah.
So
They both
but
have
they
beautiful
don't-
voices
they do.
and they can play.
Yeah, they can.
Wow.
So if we told off on you, sorry. If you didn't want people to know that, too bad, so sad.
Fun times. Yeah, I think I've heard you talk about even like as a child, you'd ride in the back of a pickup truck and you
Oh,
would
my
be singing.
goodness.
It was just like part of everyday life.
So for those of you who don't know, you guys do, but for those of you who don't know, if you are Generation X, riding in the back of the pickup truck was not illegal. As children, we did it all the time.
All the
Drinking
time.
out of the water hose, playing until sunset, grabbing our cane pole and fishing in the closest pond, and riding in the back of the pickup truck. Well, in the back of the pickup truck, there are no radios. I don't know if you guys know this.
Yes.
So my sister and I, fortunately, we had a camper. So that does help with the
Oh,
hearing
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
situation. Okay.
Yeah.
So we would ride in the back of the pickup truck, and sometimes we would go from Houston to Dallas.
wow.
Oh,
Speed
fun.
limit was 55. My father drove the speed limit. So going from Houston to Dallas at that point in time was a 4.5 to 5 hour trip
Wow.
with no radio, no games, no iPad, nothing. So we would sit in the back of the
Flat land, mostly,
flat
right?
land, yeah, no scenery. And so
Mm.
we would drive in the back of the pickup truck and just sing songs. And we made up
Wow.
our own arrangements, and we still do a lot of the arrangements a cappella that we actually made up in the back
Oh,
of the
that's
pickup
cool.
truck.
That's
So-
great.
Were you influenced by the timbre of the wheels on the road?
We actually, because of our ears, we
Mhm.
actually had to sing in the same key as the wheels
the
of the
wheels,
road.
yep.
Because if you sing out of key with the tires going down the street, and God forbid that Dad would either speed up or slow down, or the
'Cause you get a
asphalt would
different
change
key.
you're in a different key then. So
So that's why you guys were singing, and then all of a sudden he speeds up, and you're like, key change.
modulation.
I think you guys need to record all this, and your label should be like pickup truck records.
That's what it should be.
I was thinking more redneck records, but I mean, hey.
Okay.
It all works. It all works. Well, Patsy, what other things are you? I know you're involved in a lot
Oh,
of
my
things.
goodness,
So
yes.
what are you seeing for the future right now? What in your own life as well as just in general? Do you have any insight into some of the things that God's doing, maybe within the entertainment industry or within music or within ministry?
So whenever we moved to Tennessee 6 years ago now, it's been
Mhm.
6 years. We didn't know what we were going to do because we had been in ministry for 23 years, and all of a sudden that stable part of our life is gone.
Mhm.
And God really introduced us to some amazing people, first at the church that we go to.
Mhm.
And then also Raymond had some friends who lived in Nashville that he felt that we needed to reconnect with. And so we did. and they're dreamers. And we introduced you guys to them, so now
Mhm.
we're all dreamers.
All the way. Yep.
And but one of the things that became amazing to me in that, and I will say little group, but it's not little. It's not little at all.
No.
It's thousands of people worldwide who got connected to one another just by the providence of God,
Mhm.
who desire to see the people
Yeah.
celebrated.
Yeah.
They desire to, no matter what your piece or no matter what your part or your talent,
Mhm.
that you are worth something.
Mhm.
And to become such a part of such a huge group of people who, it doesn't matter which part of the world you walk into, you walk up to somebody and you say, "Hey, I'm a dreamer," and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And you
Mhm.
are,
Yeah.
to have value. And I think that's one of the things that actually kind of fueled my need
Mhm.
to bring this leadership thing back
Yep.
up again in my life.
Yep.
Because for the last 6 years, Raymond and I have been working on production crews and event coordination
Mhm.
and doing the things that we did for ministry,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
but doing it in a different capacity.
Right.
So we've been able to work with you guys on some camera
Yep.
stuff and some behind the scenes and
Yep.
some sound and some editing,
Yeah.
and just, it's been beautiful. But that's one of the things that I love about
Mhm.
what God's doing right now.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage anyone, find your tribe.
Yeah.
Find the people that when you
It's
walk into the room, your fires light each other
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
Because
you know?
being
So-
around people like that it rubs off on you, because if I go through everyday life, I sometimes kind of lose that edge,
Yeah.
and you just kind of get the mully grubs over, and you're just
So some
going through
people,
it.
some of our viewers may not know when we say dreamers, they may not know that dreamers are not just a couple of people getting together. This is thousands of people worldwide that are connected through either it could be cinema, it could be modeling, it could be acting, it can be there are dreamers
Writing,
there are dreamers that you're watching on movies that you've probably seen, and they're connected through this network, and it's different than any other networking that I've ever seen. You don't go in just to network. You go in to create relationships.
Yeah.
And it's just you never meet a stranger at a dreamers gathering, because everybody's friends, and you just fall right in and you play music together, or you talk about your movie, you talk about your script, you talk about the latest thing that's happened technologically, and you're like, wow, that's really cool, and everybody's celebrating everybody, or they're consoling in a way that is like, comforting, because we know that the roller coaster of media is a roller coaster of media.
Highs and depths of
When you
despair.
get paid, you get paid. When you don't get paid, you don't get paid.
Little feast or famine.
Feast or famine, and I guess that's why I stay at a steady job, is to finance our projects for one, and keep us going.
And it's all about knowing the season that you're in. I mean, we're in that season.
We're in that season.
Could it change? And we try to just stay open
Yeah.
for what is next, because
I think
I don't know, there's
you and Luke are going to go to the NAB possibly.
possibly, yes, sir.
in
NRB.
Dallas.
Yes.
NRB.
Yeah.
NRB.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said NAB.
Yeah.
That's a difference. National Association of Broadcasters. I think that's what that is.
Something like that.
But
Yeah.
but you guys are going to go there and talk about the podcast and talk about some different things.
So,
But that's all because of dreamers.
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
And the beautiful thing about it is, and what you were saying a while ago, is how is this all working together? It's working together because because there's something happening in the earth right now. People are waking up to the fact that devaluing people and valuing outcomes is not how they want to live their life. they're waking up to maybe the way that we were taught to do it. The tools that we have in our toolbox is not the right tools.
Yep.
Maybe going to a networking event thinking, what can I get out of this? What can you give me? Is not the right way to go into a networking event.
Right.
Maybe it's, what can I give you?
Yeah. How can I help you?
And one of the main things that we need to have in order to do that is a sense of self.
Yeah.
We have to be able to know that I was created with things inside of me that are valuable.
Right.
And I really think that one of the disservices that we were done is in our generation that that some of us may have propagated onto further generations. Right. Not all of us, but some of us did, is that we have said, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Because we look at the scripture and we say, God created you. He knew you before he formed you in your mother's womb. He created you for a purpose. You have value on this earth. And then we look at those very same people and we tell them, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And the thing is that if we value what God has put inside of us, we can't get proud because it's not about us. It's about him.
Yeah.
That's
And,
so
and
good.
getting over who we think we are and understanding who God thinks we are
Exactly.
is a whole journey in itself, because I mean you get so caught up in what people have said about you over the years, or the perception that you've had of yourself of being, oh, I don't need to do that, I can't do that, I can't. My uncle used to tell me all the time, he'd say, can't never could do anything, and she didn't get that. Not very many people do, but the if you can't was a person, they never would be anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me for years, and it's like, it just is not in my vocabulary. I can't do this. I can't do that. I am going to try my best and do it to the best of my ability. And if that fails, I'm going to try something else and get it and do it to the best of my ability. And if that succeeds, awesome. I'm going to pull other people up with me. And if I fail, well, I'm going to try something else and do it to the best of my ability and just keep going.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's one of the beautiful things about knowing who you are and knowing your strengths and weaknesses and finding the value inside of yourself is that I know that what I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I can bring to the table something. And what's beautiful is that sometimes people pull things out of me that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah. That's the great thing about being around people who are also dreamers, as you say, or
like-minded.
also they know their own value, not in an arrogant way, but in a way of understanding who God made them to be. And it's just, then you're around them, they pull it out of you.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
I'm encouraged already just hanging out with you today. So this
Well, thank you very much.
This is really good. Well, any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share?
Well, shameless plug,
Okay.
because I'm just starting this thing because it's a baby company. It's Key Leadership Associates, and I've written a book, and it's called The Keys to People First Leadership. Like we said earlier, I have a workbook along with it. I have keynote addresses. I want to take what I learned with speaking to multiple generations back in our ministry days and turn around and try to help people who have the same mindset, try to help them mentor the leaders in their company, in their corporation, so that we can actually change the culture of leadership to being a people first leadership. And so I have a speaker page, and which your guys are going to link in the description, and a book and a workbook that you guys will link the landing page for as well. But and it's not because I want to be in front of everyone. I'm like you. I love being behind the scenes, but I also love being in front of people. I enjoy speaking. That's one of the things that God has put on the inside of me. But I also enjoy working at the computer. That's also multifaceted.
Yes.
But the beautiful thing is I want to take what God has put on the inside of me, and I want to bring it, and I want to give value to the world, so that whenever my time on this earth is done, I will have made an impact. And I really feel like
Right.
that this is the way that
Yep.
God wants me
Right.
to do it.
And
Lasting
that's
fruit.
it right there. It
Yeah.
is creating lasting fruit. That's
Yeah.
very good.
Mhm.
Lasting fruit that will affect future generations, hopefully,
Yeah.
which I hope this podcast does.
Yes.
With the multiple
Absolutely.
people that we've been able to have on here.
Mhm. Yep.
and Patsy, that's
Good, good
that
stuff.
includes you. I mean,
Amen. All
there may be
right.
something that somebody hears that you
Mhm.
just said 20 years down the road.
That's right. That's
And
right.
that's one of the reasons why I love, okay, Gen X, what did you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I never understood what I wanted to be when I grew
Mhm.
up.
Mm.
Well, that's because it hadn't been invented yet.
This is a good point.
That is good.
That is good.
That's right.
I did not know how to answer that question.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had not been
Right.
invented yet. And that's why one of the reasons why I love being in this season
Yeah.
of life, of our earthly timeline, is because, like
Yeah.
you said, something that we say today
Yeah.
Yeah.
may be able to be found
Yeah.
by someone 20 years from now.
Yeah.
That's right. And to you all out there,
Yep.
there may be something that has yet to be invented for you in your future. The world is ever changing, and
Yeah.
there's no telling what is on the horizon for all of you out there. Patsy, we thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
you.
on the
Having
podcast.
me.
All right. And guys, we will see you on the next episode.
See ya.
Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to our channel. Drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer audio podcasts, please follow us on your favorite streaming platform.